Hello everyone, welcome to Code with Femi, and in this video we're going to be looking at CSS. What is CSS? CSS is cascading style sheet, and that enables you to be able to style your web page, make it look beautiful, make it look nice. You can put different colors on your web page based on your preference. And in this video we're just going to be looking at how we can add CSS to our existing HTML web page. For those of you who missed the last video on how to create your first web page using HTML, I would encourage you to watch that so that you can actually understand most of the things we're going to be doing in this video. Basically, previous video we were able to just create a simple structure, using HTML, and in here you can see what we did, which was actually just coming up with a simple HTML tag and the head section that contains the title that actually shows you the text you have here. And also basically you have your body where the content you put in here is what the users or whoever is viewing your web page can see. So in my own case now, I've included a McQueen tag that actually does that animation, and then in there you can see that we've got this text scrolling on my page. So basically, for some people you might be saying like, okay, how do I increase the size of this text? Or I don't like black, I want it to be pink, or I want it to be yellow, I want it to be red. How do I do all that? So one of the ways you can achieve this is by CSS, and I would be showing you that just in a moment. So let's just go straight back into our HTML document, which is this. And basically, remember I said in the last video that there's some things you can put in here to be able to use within your web page that you can utilize to actually enhance your web page. And one of the things you can actually include in your head is a tag called style. It's actually how you can implement your CSS to actually apply the colors, the font size, the different positioning, and different things you want to do in terms of making your web page look nice and beautiful. So basically the tag just looks like this, right? Style, open. Remember, you have to always open and close your tag. So in here within this section I can actually start writing CSS to be able to to do things on the actual page. So basically, one of the things I would mention to you is that there are many ways to actually achieve this in terms of how you apply CSS to your web page. One of it is actually through this approach where you add the style tag into your HTML document. You can put it in here, and in some cases I know some other developers would like to put it in the body. So there are many different ways you can actually achieve this. And also you can also decide to say that you want to actually put it within the actual tag you're dealing with. So your tag, there's something I also want to touch on in terms of tags. Your tags actually have attributes. So they have their own attributes, and this attributes enables them to behave or act in a certain way. And for this example, one of the attributes that you can use to apply CSS to your tag is called also style. So if you want to apply it back now, so basically you can actually apply the style using this approach, which is inline. We call this inline, inline implementation. But the thing is, with inline, to me, I would say that you just have to be careful how you use the inline, because with the inline, that means you will not be able to reuse that actual style you have actually set up within this tag for another tag. So let's say, for instance, now I have another tag which is maybe paragraph tag, and then I also want to apply the same the same style that you have here there. Then that means I'll always have to be copying and pasting. And one of the rules of programming is that you shouldn't repeat yourself. There's something we call the dry principle. Let's just go quickly to Wikipedia to see what that means. When I say dry, let's say programming. So dry programming principle. So you can see here that it stated as every piece of knowledge must have a single, unambiguous, authoritative representation within a system. So it means that you should try as much as possible to to reuse your code. If you've written a code once and you know that it's not really gonna change, so why must you write it again? So in most cases, try as much as possible to just avoid using this when you know that you want to definitely reuse whatever information or whatever information you are putting in here. Because you're going to have to start coming up with different statements in here to say that you want to use font size, you want to use all of that. So basically one of the best approach is to put it in a section where they can all use it, and I'll show you how to also achieve that. So like I said, you have different attributes. One of the things that we use in CSS to actually identify what tag needs to be styled is the tag name. So I can use a tag name and say Marquis in here and actually say that for Marquis, I want you to make, for instance, the font size. I want the font size to be let's say 2023 px. And if we save this and go back to our web page, we should see that the size of that actual Marquis is now getting bigger. If you get what I mean, you can see it's getting bigger. So basically now I can now say, okay, no, I don't want black, I want pink, because I love pink, and what do you see? You get pink, so basically you can start applying different color, and you can see how it's reflecting on the page. But now the thing is, with this now, it's actually limited to just this tag. So for instance, if I say that I love to code, right? Let's put exclamation mark, and then I really need this actual style to also apply to. Problem I'm gonna have is that because the way I've done it now is that I've actually limited it to just this tag. So you need to also always pay attention to all that, and to make sure that where you want to reuse something like this, then just give it some sort of a generic what's it called, a generic name or selector that can be used by these two two elements that we have on the page. And basically, how do we achieve that? So we have another attribute that we can use. We can use a class attribute. So a class attribute allows you to apply identifier that can be used on other elements, where they can actually also reuse the same CS statement you have written. So basically, for this case now, we have to just give it what's it called, different a name, a very good name. So for this one, we can actually just say pink text, right? So this will be the name of the actual class name. So this class name means that any tag or any element on the page that has this value called pink text, then it would actually just apply this actual style to it. But how do you actually do that in CSS? You need to put a dot first, because that dot tells it that means you actually referring to this class, this attribute class, and then the name follows, which is pink text. So if I save this and actually go back to the page and refresh this, what do you see? Nice, eh? It's nice. Yes. So that is how basically how you come around, start adding different classes, different what's it called, different texts, sizes, colors to your actual HTML page. And basically, this is, like I said, this is one of the ways where you have it embedded in the head of your actual HTML document. That is one. And remember, I told you about the inline, where you can actually literally put this thing within your your HTML element. So in here I can actually do this, right? Let's just go back like this, and then if we save this, let me just change this to red so you can see that that it's working. Go back to the page and then refresh. What can you see? You can see that is red now and this is still pink. So basically you can achieve it like this, but there are cases where you just have to make sure you're careful with this, because like I said, if you want to reuse this exact CSS you've written in another tag, then you don't want to be doing this, because now this is gonna make it a lot more difficult for you to be able to make changes to your file. Let's say you have like thousands of files you're dealing with, and you have actually pasted all this to it, and then for some reason, maybe your user or whoever it is you're developing the software for says that, oh no, I don't want it to be read. That means you have to go through all the 1,000 files to change it. So it's best to put it in a central location where you can easily change it in one place and it reflects everywhere. So that's why it is advisable to just make sure you use classes where you can actually have things like this, and then in here I can do whatever I like to this. I can actually increase this to 50px, and then what happens, it increases the 2 for me, you can see. So I don't really need to change it in many places. I just have to change it one place and it reflects everywhere. So that is just one of those examples that you need to actually bear in mind in terms of how you write your CSS. So there's one more other approach to this, where you have it in an external file. Remember in my last video I said something about you referencing external file. So your CSS can actually be a file on its own. So within this space, right click. Also you can create a new text document and then call this let's call this style. But for CSS, for you to create a CSS file, you have to put in the extension CSS. So once you do that, you can see it has changed. Then in here, if I edit this, I can actually put in this actual style in there, right? And then within this actual, what's it called? Within this this section, I can actually now say. So you can actually now apply that that CSS to your HTML document, but by referencing it within the head section, where you actually just have to specify this tag called link. So this link actually tells you now that you want to like register your CSS file within your HTML document, and then it has this attribute called relationship actually, which tells you what is the relationship between this document and this document and the HTML. So it's actually a style sheet, and then you need to also specify the type to actually just make sure you know what type it is. It's actually a text but CSS, and then you now have to put this href. So this href actually tells you where the file is, the location of the file. So this file can be on the internet, it can be somewhere else. So it can be HTTPS or HTTP and whatever it is. It can be sitting on a different location, but since our own is sitting within our this folder that we've got here, we just have to say style.css, right? So style.css, and if you save this, as you can see, once we save this, that same style we've got now is still gonna apply, right? And to show that to you, go back to your style. We can reduce this back to 23 because it's just too big, and then you refresh this. As you can see, it's working. This is how you actually reference an external file. So there are cases where you want to put some structure in here and say, no, I don't want my CSS to sit in the same place as my HTML document. I want it to sit somewhere else. Then definitely you can actually create another folder called maybe CSS, and then in there you can move that one in there. But that means you have to now change that path that you've got here to CSS / to where that file is. So you always have to make sure that the path is actually correct for it to actually reference it properly where you can see it's actually still working. If I go back to where the style sheet is, and okay, we can't find anymore because the location have changed. So let me just go in here and open it again in notepad++. In here you can see I've got this pink text. I can actually increase it back again to let's say 63 now. Okay, and then in there you should be able to see it increase. So this is how you actually apply CSS to your HTML, where you can see how you can start playing with different colors, with different font size. There are more other things you can actually add in here, which is text align. If you want your text to align a certain way, positioning, margin, padding, if you want to put padding. So those are the things that I would encourage you to start looking into. The thing is, I'm not gonna show you everything. I'm just gonna get you started, and then you need to actually also take the effort to start looking at other attributes, looking at other things you can actually start applying to your own web page, because that is how you would actually develop yourself. Because if you just rely on me to provide you everything, then then I don't think you would be able to to actually get to where you want to get to as a software engineer. So I believe it's more about you actually also start digging, because there's a lot of places online. For instance, you can actually go to W3 schools. There's a lot of content in here that tells you how to do things, how to if you want to learn CSS, if you want to learn HTML, there's a lot. So you can go through this exercise, start looking into this exercise. You can try it yourself. The good thing is they have ID where you can try things yourself. So start playing around with different with different with different ways of applying CSS to your HTML. Start also playing with different different HTML tags. Start learning all those things, and then from there you would be ready to actually start developing some sort of app for yourself. So I hope this video was was valuable, and I would actually see you in the next video. So keep well and stay safe.